Are people realistically ready to believe that Cal could shock college football and really do some damage in the ACC with Tosh Lupoi in his first year? I think so, and I'll tell you why. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Southern Sports Scene here, featured on YouTube and Twitter as well. Make sure you all do us a favor, hit the like, share, and subscribe down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, post a new video or post a new short here on the Southern Sports Scene. As always, guys, thank you guys so much that we finally hit our 100 subscriber goal. Now we're on the road to 200. Make sure you holler at our friends over at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use our promo code SSS15 to get 15% off of your first purchase. Also, thank you to our friends at Chike Nutrition. With 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 gram of fat, you can get the day started with a very healthy cup of coffee. Make sure you also do us a favor, hit the like, share, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so that you don't miss another short live video or video like this. The Cal Golden Bears coming off of a 2025 season where they finished 7-6 on the year. You fire Justin Wilcox, and I think this was coming for a very long time. When you made the move from the Pac-12 to the ACC, obviously the stakes went up. You've been able to produce some really good players over the last several years. You recruit Fernando Mendoza out of high school, and he has a great season in 2024, goes into the transfer portal. You have inconsistencies with your offense at times. Last year, it was a struggle for you defensively. You would have games where you looked great in the secondary, and there would be games where on the offensive side of the ball, you just would not be able to get anything going. You got shut out by San Diego State. You got embarrassed in the biggest rivalry game that you have to Stanford, who, by the way, has been one of the worst teams in college football over the last 5 years. We'll see what happens with them. But now you get to turn over a new leaf. You hired Tosh Lupoi, defensive coordinator, formerly at Oregon. And what does he do? Him and Ron Rivera, both of which are in their first full year with the transfer portal, they go out and they get a top 15 class. Recruiting-wise, inside the top 50. But we're going to focus on the transfer portal of what Cal was able to do throughout this cycle. And it was impressive. You were able to get a lot of weapons that Jaron Kiawe-Sagapalete can throw the football to. Obviously, last year you had Jacob DeJesus, who was an All-American for you. He's still working on potentially getting his last year of eligibility for 2026. If he gets that, he's going to join a receiving core that is going to look like this. Chase Hendricks, who was a 1,000-yard receiver this past year for Ohio with Parker Navarro throwing the football. I think he's a downhill threat. He's a guy that I think can really cause damage in the ACC. He's a mismatch for any DB in the slot. I think that you're going to get him on go routes, posts. He is excellent footwork. And, guys, I think he's going to be able to develop at a high rate when you get him in this offense. And when you pair him up with a quarterback that is as good as Jaron Kiawe-Sagapalete, who was one of the best freshman quarterbacks this past year, guys, I think that there's a lot of things that Cal can do to really develop at this rate and really develop a kid like him. He's going to have some struggles ahead of him, obviously going to pair with a new offensive coordinator. Two guys that were in the NFL this past year, Ike Hilliard, who's going to enter his first full year as an offensive coordinator. He's the co-offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach, was a wide receivers coach with the Atlanta Falcons the last 2 years, as well as having just over a decade of NFL experience with the Dolphins, Bills, Redskins, and Steelers. The last time he was in college was in 2022. He's a former All-American, too, at Florida. Jordan Somerville, I don't know what to expect of him. He was with Tampa Bay as well, formerly with where Ike Hilliard was. So both of which have that type of experience. Somerville was the assistant quarterbacks coach and the offensive pass game specialist as well. Former GA. This is his first full year as a coordinator. So a little bit of an inexperience at your coordinator position, but Somerville was with Tosh Lupoy, was the defensive coordinator there during the 2022 season, helped contribute to a lot of quarterback development and offensive production. So he's been around some really good quarterbacks in his time. And he's done really well with development, working on skill sets, working on, little things that we've seen from guys like Bo Nix, who absolutely had an amazing season in 2022 that would eventually develop into what he was able to produce in 2023. So he had a big hand in that development. You talk about the rest of the receiving core. Ian Strong from Rutgers was one of the leading receivers for the Scarlet Knights this past year, but he does have a tendency to kind of get limited in big games. When you pair along some of the losses that Rutgers had this past year against ranked opponents, he has a combined total of 3 catches for under 20 yards. He's got to show up in big games. I think that they're going to use him as a decoy guy at times, but he has an exceptional frame at 6'3", 215 pounds. He has the NFL body of a prototypical wide receiver at the next level. He can really inflict some harm on DBs. He's a matchup nightmare. He's a 50-50 ball go-getter, and man, I'm really excited to see how he develops into this Cal offense. The guy that I think people are not going to pay attention to most, though, is your running back room. Adam Muhammad, I thought, had a really breakout year for the Huskies. Obviously, the talk was about Jonah Coleman with that Washington Huskies offense. Adam Muhammad was a very, very big get for Washington. In fact, I talked about this several weeks ago when Muhammad opted to enter the transfer portal back in December. And guys, even though he only had 2 carries against Boise State, you seeing the type of production that he can do. He can do some really good things. You've seen what he can do against teams like Oregon, against UCLA. Oregon had a really good defense this past year. Adam Muhammad is very familiar with Tosh Lupoy. And Tosh Lupoy's defense, the interior of that defensive line, had struggles with countering off of what Adam Muhammad was able to break off. Averaged just under about 5 yards a carry, I believe. He averaged just under 7 yards a carry, against Oregon this past year. So, guys, he has an opportunity to get 100-yard games every single time he touches the football for this California Golden Bears team, a team that has yet to really find a run game that was as good as what Jaden Ott was able to produce in 2023. Obviously, last year I thought you were better. You were pretty good at your running back position. But again, it is hard. It is hard to produce what Jaden Ott was able to bring to your offense. And that's nothing against Kendrick Raphael, who I think will still be a dominant back in the ACC with SMU. Obviously, losing him was big. But, guys, I think that a guy like Adam Muhammad, who's got 2 more years of eligibility, will be a bigger contributor to your running game compared to what Kendrick was able to do. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything bad about Kendrick Raphael. What I will say, though, is that I really believe that a guy like Adam Muhammad is a lot bigger and a lot faster than Kendrick Raphael. Dorian Thomas is an elite tight end that I think can do some interesting things this past year. Thought he did good in run blocking situations, and I think he's going to continue to elevate his draft stock over the next couple of years as well with his development. So let's talk about overall with what we're expecting of Cal. Your schedule is pretty favorable, but you do have some wake-up games that could define your season. UCLA at home, I think, will kick off what should be a really, really, really good year for Cal. You win that game, and I think you're going to put yourself in a much better position to potentially be a better football team than you were this past year. Bob Chesney going up against the first-year head coach of Bob Chesney. What is UCLA going to do from an offensive perspective? Something that they struggled with this past year. How does Nico Iamaleava develop after his first full year with the Bruins, with a new offensive coordinator? I think that would be an early indicator as to where this team is as a whole in the first full year with Tosh Lupoi. That game against Syracuse, though, I think could be the one I'm circling. If I am a Cal fan, I'm circling the Syracuse game. Guys, that's a big game for you. The time change is going to affect you because you're going from West Coast all the way down to the East Coast. But how do you realistically respond to that challenge? And going up against this team like what Syracuse did this past year. Guys, Syracuse was injury-laden. You lose your starting quarterback. You have inconsistencies with your second and third stringers, and you were not able to put up any points. What does a healthy Steve Angeli look like in 2026 for Syracuse? We're going to find that answer out when they play them on September 12th. Clemson at home is going to be interesting. At UNLV, going up against Dan Mullen and company. Dan Mullen did pretty good in his first full year as a head coach at UNLV. I think still, despite them finishing 10-4 this past year, guys, UNLV is really good. UNLV is going to be really good this year. You've had games that could have went your way, but I really, really think that you're going to be in a position to where you can compete at a high level. You beat UNLV, and if you start the year off 4-1, you're going to be put in a position where you can win at least 8 or 9 games this year, which will be a drastic improvement compared to last year. You'll have more consistency on the offensive side of the ball. You will be flowing a lot better from a consistency standpoint compared to 2026 or 25. You obviously have some tough games, man. Clemson at home, going to SMU, going to North Carolina State, going to Virginia. You're going to travel a lot. But, guys, if you can come out the other side with an 8 or 9 win regular season, I believe that you will be an ACC championship contender, and I think you might be one of the few teams that can challenge Miami for an ACC title. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe down below. Turn on the bell notification so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short here on the Southern Sports Scene. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all stay blessed and y'all don't stress. Y'all have a great rest of the week.